Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. You know, the thing about it is, I'm going to say this for the record. We all have an opinion. We're all entitled to one. Other than that, I don't give a fuck about an opinion when facts are facts. It's just, it is what it is. You can always argue with somebody who has the opinion, but it's irrelevant. It's it's like talking to a wall. You can't you can't sway anybody. So I don't care. I don't really care about an opinion because facts overrule opinions. So it's like, we got people who believe that the world is flat. That's their opinion. But then we're presented with facts. Are you going to actually try to convince them that the world is round? Let's be practical here, shall we? If they think and they believe that the world is flat, then no matter what evidence you present, you're not going to convince them otherwise. It's just the way the world works. Okay? It's just the way it is. So here's my opinion. Here's my, not my opinion, my advice. Just don't give a fuck. Don't care. Don't care. Let them believe what they will. It's pointless. So I'm going to be doing my dailies. Morning, Roz. What's up? I got back into DCUO. Did you? DC's a good game, man. It lacks in content, but it's good. It's a good game. I hope that the Nintendo launch, spurts a little bit more growth. And then hopefully they'll be able to get a couple more devs in there and they'll be able to push out maybe a little more content. The quality of content's good. So I have no problems with what the developers are doing over there for DCUO. They're amazing. The team they have is, for what they're working with and how long DC's been in production, it's phenomenal. It is, those individuals really do justice to their trade. They push the bounds of what was initially implemented and what they're continue to try to expand upon. It's amazing. I have a very nasty ice character. Ice is a really good tank. DPS, I wish it was a little bit more. It's okay DPS, but tanking, it's amazing. It's an amazing tank for sure. Ice was very popular too. Very, very popular. No, you won't find performance issues in that game. It's optimized. You're not gonna see too many performance problems in DC. That's the one thing. As much as I wanted to bitch about SOE, and there were bugs. I mean, don't get me wrong, but as much as I wanted to bitch about some of the decisions that SOE made that hurt the company and eventually led to its, downfall, SOE did always work towards optimization and balancing, which are two things a lot of companies struggle with. But SOE always took pride in that, and they did a great job. I think the only piss poor performance I ever got from an SOE game was EverQuest for the PlayStation. I hope Xbox gets the crossplay with PS4 and PC. Oh, my ice DPS is a knockdown freeze lock. Got you. Yeah, they said initially Nintendo is going to have its own server, and Xbox has its own server right now. They don't have crossplay as of now, but they're talking about implementing crossplay. But as I mentioned in another stream, it's going to take time. It's not It's not that they're incapable of doing it. It's the contracts have to be renegotiated. Weapon style brawler, yeah, it's a good. It's a that for your DPS or your tank. Brawler has some nice combos. Yeah. EverQuest Frontier. Yeah. EverQuest. Oh, that. I mean, seriously, that PlayStation version was just so hard with lag, but it was revolutionary at the time. So you really wanted to be a part of it. Got Superman's ice breath. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no. DC is amazing when it comes to performance. Like every day, I could rave about what SOE did with performance and balance. Like a lot of people think there's a problem with balance in DC, but in PvP, there's issues. I think Sam would agree with that. There are concerns with the PvP part of DC, but as far as like DPS balancing, I think that each of the classes or power sets, I mean, each of the power sets perform very well, and there are some minor, you know, performance issues depending on loadout. But if you like really get your loadout and your rotation and your clipping together, you really see performance shine. Yo, Mystic, 3 words: Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World is literally graphically, and what it does is so amazing. I can't get into the game, but when I watch, every time I watch it being played, I enjoy watching the combat in that game. I really enjoy watching the combat system. It really is a very good approach to, that fighting style. I like watching it. I can't get into it. I guess I'm built a certain way, but I like watching people play it. I've watched streams. I've watched my friends play it, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. There's a couple other games that's trying to implement that. I think there's a free version of a game like that, similar, but when I watched it, it didn't have the impact that Monster Hunter World has. Monster Hunter World definitely has a nice element to the encounters. Plus, the armor system's pretty cool. A little grindy on that part, trying to obtain everything you need, but very unique. I really like how they implemented the armor system. I'm doing PvP still. In what, DC? DC's PvP's got issues. And it's fixable. There's a couple things to fix it, but unfortunately, like I said, they're short staffed and their hands are tied. You know, their hands are tied. It's I don't I wish the devs had more staff, but that has to be justified. There has to be the percentage of profit that has to be maintained for the shareholders, and especially given the fact that Daybreak, acquired SOE titles, so they're doing a Fortnite crossplay beta right now. Oh yeah, no, Epic. Let me tell you something. That's tip of the iceberg with Epic. I mean, I know a lot of people are pissed off with Epic and their online store, and I get it. I really do. But Epic, literally, that's the tip. That's not even the tip of the. I'm sorry, it's not even the tip of the iceberg. Epic has so many plans in 2019 just for the Unreal Engine alone. Yeah, it's already crossplay, right? But there might be a new game. Yeah, it's already cross-playable. Mitch is right. But literally, Epic's got plans for engine feature launches in 2019, and literally, that's why I'm saying, like, everybody's getting on board with the same progression or the same inevitable factor that's going to be faced with the future of gaming. And believe it or not, I know people hate to hear this. Some people do. Epic's on the front line of most of it. Epic is with the Unreal Engine. That's the problem with the engines these days, is the adaptation, right? But Epic's already take that in consideration with their engine being able to be utilized on the different ops, the different operation systems. And I'm telling you, man, it's amazing. It is friggin' phenomenal what Epic's going to be pushing out in 2019, throughout this year, and early 2020. And I know, like I said, there's a lot of debate. There is. There's a lot of debate. Yeah. No, it's amazing. Yeah, but the way you wrote it, yeah. But I think I feel you, man. I definitely feel you. But yeah, no, it's, oh my God. And that's why I'm really happy for DC. So, Onigiri hit Nintendo first. And now DC's on there. And Nintendo's looking to expand. What about Daybreak's? Daybreak game, with that launch of the Nintendo Switch on DC, they're trying to expand DC's accessibility. And eventually, they're wanting to cross-platform the servers, or integrate the servers to cross-play capability, which would be great. In an overall, in the long game, it's going to pay out for Daybreak. But unfortunately, their other titles is the issue. There's no reintegration to their other existing titles, which are all SOE PC based games. So the problem of it is those are money holes right now. They're sinks. And I hate to say it right now, DCUO is Daybreak's flagship. It's Daybreak's flagship currently. They would need... I was sad that EverQuest Next got pulled. I was hoping for EverQuest Next and a reintegration of EverQuest Next. I was hoping for an EverQuest integration system. Because with a next-gen EQ title, it would give, especially with multi-platform initiation and then integration to cross-play capability, EverQuest title would draw in millions. It would draw in millions. And that was something that Daybreak, unfortunately, it cost, that. We meet each other in the future. You and I don't get out as much as I used to. I'm somewhat social, but, I'm more, exclusive. I mean, like, I'm like more reclusive, I guess, in certain, ways. My patience has gone with majority. Like I said, I mean, I get to meet a lot of really interesting people. I really do. But unfortunately, I'm built such a way now. Me and my wife was talking about that today. Like, literally, she's like, you literally used to be the best at everything you did. And I'm on DC? Yeah. Oh, definitely. My wife was like, oh, you used to be the best at whatever you did, whatever you applied yourself to. It was going to be a success. And everybody loved you for it. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, but your patience just kept you became more bitter. And I did. And I did. Because when you, it, you're always going to be faced with people. You when you start seeing it for what it is, oh, it takes its toll more than what I think I would even care. Like I told my children, I was like, listen, daddy's not, you know, like pessimistic. I'm more, I have more insight than maybe I care to have, I guess. They say ignorance is bliss, and I wish I had it because maybe I'd be more happy, if that makes sense. Meet me each other on DCUO in the future. Oh yeah, when the crossplay happens, absolutely. When they integrate the servers, and it's going to happen. It's going to. Because a lot of people thought DC was going to die, but the thing that kept DC alive, and a lot of people don't understand this, was two elements. So first off, the combat system is still probably one of the best combat systems in gaming. It really is. The combat system keeps players engaged. It's a great combat system, hands down. Second was the cross-play integration when PS4 was initialized. So when PS4 came out, the server merge happened between the PS3 players and the PC players. And because of that, it extended DC's life. Matter of fact, it actually helped it out tremendously. Then you have on top of that, you have now Nintendo, who wants to go ahead and do what? Expand its MMO portfolio. So the future looks good for DC. The question of it is, can Daybreak bring in another title? Currently, I feel like Daybreak is, just keeping its head above water. Daybreak's keeping its head above water at this particular junction. It wouldn't surprise me if another company buys out DC from Daybreak and Daybreak dissolves completely within the next 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if that was to occur. But for the DC team, they don't have anything to worry about. Now, if Nintendo gets higher than expected, or meets expectations and exceeds expectations, then we can assume that Daybreak will go ahead and try to push forward for maybe another title. But at this point, I don't see Daybreak trying to do that. And that's a problem within itself, because Daybreak needs a fresh title. Like, it was good that they acquired SOE, but they had to understand what they were taking on with SOE. Well, like I said, DCUO is not going anywhere. The threat is to the EQ populace, because currently EverQuest, a lot of people would still say EverQuest, the original OG, is enough to sustain Daybreak. But in the current market, I disagree. I disagree. EQ2, it's desolate. You get more players playing original EverQuest than EQ2. The players who are playing EQ2 now, it's ugh. And then PlanetSide, which is a really good game. I love PlanetSide too. The original PlanetSide is, dissolved. So now you have PlanetSide 2. And PlanetSide 2 combat is amazing. and it hits, it hits pretty damn good. It's on all platforms. The problem of it is Daybreak has yet to integrate crossplay for PlanetSide 2 at all. So that's something we were looking at, that like we as consumers were hoping they were going to present, that they were going to take PlanetSide and start merging servers between PlayStation and PC, like they did with DCUO. Unfortunately, that didn't occur. Because of that, now you have, more of a stagnant pop. And they had multiple reasons why this hasn't happened. But honestly, I think it should. I think they need to be reinvestigating this, because this could also help PlanetSide 2, what they did with DC. So if they did that, then that would give PlanetSide a little bit more jump. PlanetSide is amazing. It's a siege system, siege battle system. It's a shooter game that literally encompasses siege mechanics. It's fucking awesome. I suck at it, but it's an amazing game. I played it. I got hundreds of hours logged into PlanetSide 2. I'm not a good shooter player, but literally it is an amazing game. It's amazing. It is simply phenomenal. But the problem, like I said, it's just, the population. It's a pop problem. So they need to take a look at the crossplay capability of PlanetSide, like they did with DC. If they did that, it would help tremendously. But Daybreak, honestly, like I said, I think, it's all going to matter if they don't push something in the next 3 years, within the next 3 years, as far as like a new title release, they've got bigger problems on their plate. There's windows of opportunity that have to be presented for substantial growth. There's only X amount of window of opportunity. It'll make and break companies, man. Look at Atari. If you, back in the early 80s, like 1980, 1979, if you said Atari was not even going to have a substantial role in console development in the next 5 years, people would have been like, you're fucking high. They have no competition. Right? Nobody would have saw that coming. But Atari refused to do things that were innovative. They refused to adapt. And their software developers became their competitors. Remember, Nintendo was originally a software company for Atari. Yo, Irish, what's up? That was the craziest element, man. That was the most craziest thing. I still remember playing Nintendo games on Atari. And then all of a sudden, boom, Nintendo becomes its own console, its own, identity. So, like I said, Daybreak has to break through somehow in the next couple of years. Yeah, he's on DC. I love DC. I love the combat in DC. The combat in DC is amazing. You definitely get the vibe of everything. The power sets are amazing. PvP needs a little work. Needs a little bit. But they need developers. And like I said, the Nintendo integration, amazing. It's going to be phenomenal. Yeah, are you a hero or villain? That's another good question. I'm always a villain. I have a hero. I have like 3 heroes. So I have like 3 or 4 heroes, but I usually play villain. And it was like, why did I choose villain? I chose villain because, you know, at the time, the population. They do a good job, just not enough to sustain. It's like, it's a good casual MMO. Like, you can get in and out. You can, you know, get your weeklies done. If you're looking for a filler game between another game and you love the hero, like the DC universe, they do an awesome job. I would make that recommendation. I got it from a game called Mega Man 8. Nice. Never got into tanking, but appreciate those that do. Yeah. They're tanking in DC does have a unique twist to it. I like the threat generation in DC though. I mean, it's cool that, you know, how your threat is generated. I still haven't got my Q, man. Holy shit, Bobs. I'm just trying to get my dude to 60. Villain, you say? Okay, so City of Heroes, I started off as a hero. City of Villains, yeah, you're shocked. I bet. Yeah, it wasn't hard to pull my arm in that direction, honestly. So, you have a valid point there, Warren. I guess there is a, you know, some relatable effect or, you know, psychological, you know, association, maybe. I don't know. Aha! Aha, ha, 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 ha. So I was like literally going through so much information yesterday. Like, I'm filtering through so many content creators on Final Fantasy 14. I'm like, oh my, why do I always get this board? What the flip, man? I protest. I'll just use the F stake. I don't give a shit. I just want my bonus XP. How many free armories you get? 1. If you get a sub, you get 1. You can cancel it out, but once you pay for a month and you get your 1 free armory in your base, everything else you have to access. But like I'm no joke with my armory. I've got dudes that's got 4. I don't do more than 4. I know people who do, but I don't. But yeah, I don't fuck around, man. Armory is like my bread and butter in that game. Believe it. Dude, I'll switch in combat. If they gave me more switch play capability, I don't think I could leave the game. Being able to switch in combat from one role to another, I do it more on controllers than anything, but I've done it on healers before too. But that GCD is just bleh. Like, you can't afford to necessarily do it on a healer so much. Controller you can get away with. Homecoming City of Heroes. City of Heroes is friggin' amazing. Holy snowballs. The Homecoming server has 95k registered. Oh, yeah. Dude, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, PC market, like, it was, like, literally, dude, I still remember that debate. Like they had a significant amount. A significant amount NC did. I'm not getting into this debate. With about NC, you know why, Oren. I've talked to you about this. But there was concern. There was, the whole thing like, why are they letting this go? And obviously there was a lot more to it. Why? But honestly, there was, a nice population for City of Heroes even during its server shutdown. I mean, it wasn't at its peak, but they weren't in the red. And then you had a market that wasn't being, they had City of Champions online, and I hate to say it, Champions just was like, bleh. No, it's not coming to Xbox. It's a PC game. It can never be integrated. They don't own the IP. And I think that something's gotten worked out with NC Soft. Because NC Soft could shut it down, but it's just bad PR for them to fuck with it. If I was NC Soft, I wouldn't fuck with it. I just ignore that shit. But they can't market. They can't market it. They can't earn any substantial money from that IP. That DC UO goes cross-platform. It should get integrated at some time. They said they are looking into it, which means they're capable of doing it. It's as simple as hitting a switch, literally, for the engine that they utilize. The problem of it is contract negotiations. Meeting me's not that good of a big deal. I think they thought they wanted to cut out while they were on top. Well, from my understanding, there were some problems with the management. So from my understanding, there was some shit going down that was like literally behind the scenes. From what I heard, but you know how it goes. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, that makes sense. What they did to Richard Garrett, though, that broke my heart. I was on Tabula Rasa. There's a few people in the industry I completely admire. Matt Fire is one of them, regardless of all the shit. He is like, he is an individual I idolize because of his role in the market. Uh-oh, I'm dead. But, and Richard Garrett, like Matt, Richard Garrett, Mark Jacobs, definitely as well. There's like, there was even some people that's still in the industry I don't necessarily admire, but now they're in like certain roles. Like somebody locally was surprised that I, like, John Smeedley knew who I was, and I was like, yeah, oh, John? And they were like, yeah, you know, I'm aware of John. I actually know him somewhat, but not like very well. And I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, I don't know him outside of anything other than that, you know, SOE. And I'm like, so I can't be a judge of anything. But I don't appreciate John Smeedley. I'm like, you know, me and John had a few words. Let's put it that way. Still 95K for a game that was sunsetted 6 years ago. That's amazing. And those guys, Homecoming, are still making content. Yeah, that's what's cool. That they're able to make the content. They just, from my understanding, they can't make any substantial revenue from it. So I'm happy that they actually are, you know, able to do a lot of things with the code. So I'm still happy about that. Yeah, they truly gave him the shaft. Yeah. And dude, that was you're in your neck of the woods, man. Oh, I know. That was all in your neck of the woods. So that literally hit home for you. I had the opportunity to go to Texas. All my exes live in Texas. Yeah, poor Richard Garrett, man. And I actually thought Tabula Rasa was good, considering the time frame in which they had to release it. I mean, the end game needed more. They needed more, you know, aspects to the lore. And I agree with all of these complaints. I do. But what they did, what at the time they had innovating moments in the game. Like at the time, that game was one of the first games to introduce triggered events. So what Richard and his staff did was amazing. The how these events and the scaling system that it was incorporated with it. Get by the balls. I think I was supposed to kick it towards them, but... So heavy thrust is gone, Orin. They're getting rid of heavy thrust. They're trying to streamline the combos a little bit more on Dragoon with Shadowbringers. Austin is becoming a Settle 2.0 here. Hope that's PvP. That's not a bad thing. Dragoon has long combo string, right? That's what I was hoping they'd shorten it even further. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh my god, holy. And I was hoping that, I don't know the layout. They went over a couple of things. But I was like, they need earlier access to an AoE, and they need to literally, get the combo system down. The rotation is just so god dang lengthy in comparison. And I'm just worried about the utility of the Dragoon coming out with Shadowbringer. Like, is it going to be able to keep up? Like, is it going to get lost to the meta, Currently, it's still being implemented by meta, But now I'm a little concerned. I mean, Dragoon looks so good between like 60 and 70. Like, I really like the hard-hitting AoE effects and everything. But I was like, it needs, for what it offers pre-Shadowbringers is, valuable. It has a lot to offer its party. And currently, if that was, becoming less effective, then what's the justification for the job? That's my concern. Because, when we take a look at, selfish DPS, that's not what the Dragoon is. It has, support effects that's, enabled within its kit. I feel like the animations are a little too drawn out in comparison to, like, the monk now looks sick as fuck. Like, I look at the monk's animation setup and rotation, and I'm just like, oh, man. Like, a lot of people's, whole thing about Monk prior was the RNG and the stacks. So I'm just hoping, I'm praying, man. Just keep going, dude. Push this train. Should be enough. I'm hoping with the bonus. Like, if not, Wait for the turn. Always. Great. Our healer's dead. Boy, this tank better be good. Look at that. Awesome. Ah, oh, shit. If I can get it down to about 15. Oh, no! No! No, no! No, I'm dead. Come on, get me out, get me out, get me out, get me out! No! No! As I said, it should be an off tank. Oh, my movement is flight. My one loadout is going to be for bots, DPS, and tank. Yeah, loadouts are awesome. I really like loadouts. Doom, Spoke, I got you. Meta is a myth. In a lot of games, it is. Like, in ESO, meta is a myth. But we're in a linear game, right, Roz? So, linear games perform different than sandbox games. And what ends up happening, what they do is try to calculate the uptime and the available buffs and stack effects, right? So it's all, meta is set by encounter and what's needed to clear encounter with the optimal output. Now, see, one of the things I've argued about in the Elder Scrolls about meta, and a lot of people play against meta, and that's not a determining factor to clear content. So I agree with that. But in Elder Scrolls, they try to adapt the meta philosophy from a linear game. And that doesn't work because of indifferent values. Anytime, and that's what they don't understand. They're kind of like, I'm like, you're dealing with diminishing returns, controlled diminishing returns, right? Right? So once it's a controlled factor, right, you literally have no, shit, I messed that up, that rotation. The meta is now dictated just by, the players who are saying, oh, you can't do with it. You can't. This has to happen. You need certain elements to be present. Because of mitigation, stacked effects, whatever have you. That's what determines meta in linear games. Sandbox game, it's no longer applied because you have indifferent values. And a lot of times people don't understand indifferent values. And because of that, they usually get fucked. So just keep in mind, Roz, like, so if you have controllable, if your variables are controlled within a percentage value, right? Meaning there's like not really, All I can tell you is this. You can control the numbers a lot better in Elder Scrolls than a linear-based game. And because of that, the meta is a facade. At least the traditional terminology and understanding of what dictates meta. Was it enough? No! I was robbed. I was framed. Oh, I was blamed. I never did nothing wrong. But I always get the blame. Alright. Hey, I'm just joking around. Oh, no, you're fine, dude. But there is a difference. Like, a lot of times, like, ESO players is like, well, this is the meta, or whatever. And it's like... I think you're, like, putting meta to popularity. Like, I think the definition of meta has become the popularity and not what's the deciding... how the deciding factor is dictated, is what I'm saying, though. It's like... That's why I always said death to the meta, because in Elder Scrolls, I'm like, you're aware of the law of diminishing returns, and you're also aware that there's another mathematical law that deals with diminishing returns called indifferent value, because you have diminishing returns, right? And a lot of people are just like, whoof, over their heads, and it's like, hey, man, I don't make the shit up. I just, oh. Like, a lot of people didn't know what clipping was. They think animation canceling and clipping was the same thing. And I'm like, well, there is animation canceling, and then there's clipping. But you can cancel out certain effects, but there's there's clip effects in the ESO too. And it was weird because Gilliam was mentioning clipping at the end. He's like, a lot of people talk about animation canceling, and it's actually like clipping. And I'm like, yeah, I've said that years ago. Like, when I first started this, actually DC, Twitch-based games introduced clipping mechanics. And DCUO, even though it doesn't shine as well as it did in its clip rotation, really brought clip mechanics mainstream. Like, DC clip mechanics were, whoa, you could clip so much. Like, Terra, yeah, okay. Some early Twitch games you could be like, okay, it's, But then DC, whole new level of clip. A whole new element of, not just canceling the animation, but clip rotation. And literally, it was, God, amazing. Creativity trumps over meta, yeah. And in ESO especially, and a lot of people now have just, I've done, when I went into Elder Scrolls and I became a content creator, I accomplished what I set out to do. And that was to educate the masses, even though majority of them are still a little slow. I wanted to open up what Elder Scrolls was, and now everything's established. They had players there who were doing it, but it wasn't accepted. It wasn't understood by the majority. And now you still have content creators that are still going against meta to do what? Provide what the Elder Scrolls premise is. And that's all I came in to do. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to be like the best gamer. I wasn't trying to be that. And in Pokemon, I never got into Pokemon. My nephews were into Pokemon, but I never was. But that's what I set out to do. That's all. Like, when people ask me, like, I'm like, listen, man, I didn't want to be the best of anything. Never, it was never my goal. It was never my intention. It was never my. I don't care. Like, if people are like, oh, look at this. I'm like, I don't care what they do. I don't care. Majority of those content creators who are popular have referenced me one time or the other. Whether it's on their channel or not, they know who I am. They've taken in what I've done. My Dragon Team counter is 97 of the Pokemon meta. I have no idea about anything about Pokemon. So I take your word for it. I know nothing about Pokemon. Nothing. But, you know, it's like my one friend. He plays D2. And he was like, you know, they're finally nerfing some of the relics. And I'm like, I have no idea, but I am definitely interested in this conversation. And then he was showing me his relics. You know, like a few of his relics, the comparable relics. And I'm like, why did they let it get this far? Like, does anybody, like, test some stuff? Oh, I was competitive? I imagine, because I'm completely lost. Like, it's like Magic. I was into Magic the Gathering for the longest time. I loved Magic the Gathering. Like, actually, I was an alpha tester for the first Magic the Gathering online. Actually, it was weird how I got involved with that, too. Because typically I tested for MMOs, not strategy games, right? But I was a big Magic the Gathering fan, and I literally had the game, the original game prior to the online game, the computer game, the single player game. And there was a problem with the update, and I was like, something's going on. I'll contact him. I'll send out an email. Maybe I can, you know, whether or not to, you know, do this anymore. You know, I was like something I was whatever. I contacted, you know, the whole thing. I almost went in there as a DPS. Thought I was on my Dragoon. Anyway, so I send somebody and someone's like, hey, wait a minute. This name seems familiar. And I was like, oh, I don't know how. I was just like, I don't know. Like, they're like, did you do anything? I'm like, I'm a tester. And they're like, you're a tester? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I did this and did that. I mean, you know, on the side of stuff. Why? And they're like, oh my God, would you be interested in like testing for our new online version of Magic? And I was like, excuse me? Like, you guys are coming out with the multiplayer digital version of this? Like, you know, multi? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, sure. And that's how I got involved. I didn't even need to sign up. I mean, I had to get, you know, whatever. But yeah, that's how I ended up getting into like the whole alpha phase of Magic. And it was a building process, that game was. Because like the stacks, how the stacks resolved were all fucked up. They were fucked up. Oh, I hate this boss. I didn't even realize which one I was in. Fuck. And I'm healing this bitch. Stack! No! Or get away from me. Isn't that the stack one? Or not? No one's gonna hurt. Just gonna put a regen on him. Feel bad for anybody that was on there. Oh shit! No! Fucking line of sight. I tried, man. We're fucked. We're all fucked. Oh, dude, you take it now? Get us up! Oh my god, you put me in the wrong place, dude! Oh my god! Oh no. Almost. Oh my. Got it. Magic, the addiction, the trinity of MMOs. That's what I loved about City of Hero. It breaks that mold right. Yeah. There was a lot of things I liked about City of Heroes, though. I mean, how defenders worked, I like the different elements of the defenders. I got it. Funny thing is, had I not... I should have just moved. That's my fault. That was my... I should have just moved. Got him. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I uh, uh, we don't fuck up that time. Go Mystic. It's your birthday. Nope. Tankers are tanks. But nothing is required in City of Heroes. City of Heroes where there are no set roles, right? You know, and like there's task force and there's different the way content's done in City of Heroes is unique. It really is. Like you don't get gear either in City of Heroes. There's no gear drop, right? It's all about your enhancements. It's a really good game, man. It's good. It's fucking good. I mean, it's a little dated, mind you, but it's fucking good. That shit is good, man. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh-huh, uh-huh. I only got that left to do, and then I gotta wait for all resets. Reset, 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 reset. So I'm 62 on the white mage. I'll get him up there. I'll push him to 70. I don't think I'm going to be doing... If I main a healer, I'm probably going to main AST. I know a lot of people weren't, like, overly thrilled with changes to AST. There were pros and cons. Like, some people really enjoy it. But it's the relevance of the class. They've taken a lot of the RNG elements out of it and gave it a complete... And because of the changes, I think AST is definitely fitting meta, for sure. Like, and Scholar looks good. White Mage looks good. The problem of it is they needed to give a buff. The White Mage should have got a buff. They should have got a buff applied. Like, applying a buff. Like some... Not just a defending element. They should have had some sort of buff element applied to the White Mage. That's my opinion. You know, the healing's fine on White Mage. We know that the White Mage can heal. It's probably the strongest direct healer that you have in the game. But, yeah. It won't change the PvP meta. IO sets are all about looty as it gets in COH, right? Yeah, the enhancement, yeah. I remember that too. Ice and DCO has so many shields. Oh yeah, Ice and DC, man, was really, really like it completely. It was used a lot. It was probably the most popular tank at one time in DC. I didn't like the playstyle myself. I liked the fire tank at the time when I first started, which had a lot of regen. It didn't deflect as much as reduce damage as much as ice, but the regen capability on fire tank was beyond exceptional for me. But then I got into earth tanking and like I did off tank. I used to off tank in raids for my guild at times, and I picked earth to do it. So I was an earth tank, you know, as an off tank. And of course our main tank was ice. So, yipper, yipper, yipper. Yay! Anyways, I'm going to take a break for a little bit. I got a couple things to do. I'll be back later. Orin, Roz, Saiyan Gaming. You guys better know who he is. Go check him out if you don't. Mitch, everybody, Irish. Thank every one of you guys for stopping in today. I appreciate all the support, man. I really do. And it's our love of MMOs that keeps us here, right? Our love of multiplayer MMOs. And like I said, man, there's people out there that are going to be pissed. Not everybody's going to agree with me, right? And I don't care if they do. It's like me trying to talk to somebody about the world being round and they claim it's flat. It's like, I don't care. I'm not worried about your opinion. I'm worried about facts and the inevitability. What's inevitable. And I think that's the problem that we have as a culture. We let our opinions dictate, guide us over reason. It's like, I understand you have an opinion, I have an opinion. They don't coincide, right? But an opinion shouldn't be the deciding factor over reason and conclusion. Reasonable conclusion overrides opinions. And that's the problem with our society. We let our opinions get the best of logical reasoning. And it's like, listen, man, cause and effect. You can do anything, but there's going to be a repercussion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That just doesn't apply to physics, my friends. That applies to the social demographics of our society. In every way, psychological, economical, all of these things have, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, cause and effect. And we have to pay attention and have the understanding of reason. The problem of it is, the way our society has been molded, right, is to what? To capacitate what's been produced for hundreds, if not 1,000 plus years, right? To keep a certain demographic truth apparent. It's the best way I can describe it without getting... But the problem of it is history can repeat itself. And if we don't learn from the mistakes that we've... Propaganda has blinded most people to relevant facts of history from an economical level. And history plays important elements to economics, right? What we've learned, regardless of the value. And unfortunately, there has been many, many people who's had to suffer on both ends due to this tragedy. I'm not a religious man, per se. I believe in different things. All right? I believe everybody's entitled to their own faith. And I try to keep religion and personal faith out of any discussion. But there is one thing I always admire about most religious documentation, and one specifically, and that is like, money is the root of all evil. And it's amazing how something so old has so much truth, even in today's standards. That they still abide by this control mechanism that they have yet to elevate our existence as a species. It dumbfounds me to this day. Take it easy, bro. I'll catch you later. Definitely, Oren. But yeah, food for thought. Like I said, you're entitled to an opinion. But just see reasons. See the reasonable conclusion. And I promise you, a lot of the times, you're going to be disappointed, even if it goes against what you want to believe. Okay? All right, there you guys have it. Once again, I'm Mr. Craven. This is Mystics MMOs. As always, thank you. Have a nice day.